Everyone, thanks for tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather next 8 to 10 days. In today's video, this will take us well into the second half of September. So I think we'll be going somewhere around the 20th of September with this update. It's also going to be pretty unsettled next week. We've got a complicated pattern coming up next week, actually. Overall, it's quite unsettled, but we could bring up some warmer air at times. And the reason is that the areas of low pressure that are going to be keeping it generally quite changeable next week will have sort of tropical elements within. This is something you get quite a lot in September, that you do tend to get areas of low pressure that originate from the tropics. They're not hurricanes or tropical storms at all, but they sort of have those elements within them as they decay over the northern Atlantic. So it can push some quite warm air into the country, albeit rather unsettled and change. But it's one of the reasons that September tends to be one of the hardest months to pin down in terms of the broad patterns, both in short range and longer range time frames. It's always the month, or one of the months of the year, that is quite difficult compared to, say, March or June, which usually easier to forecast. So I'll get on with that in a moment. We'll have a look at all the charts. But before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all pages at gadsoffice.com. You can have browser widgets you'll be able to pay for the website, and thanks very much for doing that. So just very quick to start with centering temperature. It's been a cold start to September, significantly cooler than average for the first 9 days. We stand at 12.9, which is anomaly 1.7 below average. I think this is about the lowest it's going to get. This will start to pick up as we go through the next few days. Particularly today, of course. It's a lovely day out there. If you haven't gone out yet, do get out into the sunshine and enjoy it if that's what you like, because it's one of those sort of sparkling late summer, early autumn days when broken sunshine. And it's not going to last much longer, so over the weekend it will turn you more unsettled. So, as I say, if you enjoy dry, sunny, warm, late summer, early autumn conditions, get out into sunshine this afternoon and make the most of it. But that centering temperature and the UK temperatures overall should be starting to pick up really from this point on. So we'll have a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts next. These are for the next week to 10 days. We've got the ECMWF on the top this time, and the GFS is down on the bottom. I'll sort of rotated these around so that we can see them UK view on. As I say, this is taking us up to around the 20th of September, and they're both in agreement with blue extrapolated to low pressure and orange and red extrapolating to high pressure. They're both in agreement we're going to have a trough of low pressure dominating into the second half of September. So deep, really, on the GFS anyway. Trough of low pressure sitting to the west of the country, and then we've got ridging up to the north and the northeast. Bit of a battleground UK type scenario, but it is unsettled. But between the trough and the ridge, we could be pulling up some relatively warm air at times from sort of a southerly type direction, with the jet stream and the flow doing that sort of thing. So, despite the fact that it looks relatively unsettled through next week, it could be quite warm at times. We can see this on the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles, dealing with the temperature first of all. The red line here is the 30-year temperature average. So we're going to be close to average through rest of this week and into the weekend as well. As we go through into next week, though, there is a trend to warm things up through the course of the week. Now, these very warm members are probably outliers. I don't think you have to worry too much about that. But nevertheless, the overall trend of the ensemble is to lift above the 30-year temperature average, so it does imply that it gets a bit warmer next week. Despite that, though, we've got loads and loads of rainfall spikes here, starting from the weekend, starting from Saturday, and just increasing through the course of next week. So quite a wet spell. Looks like it's on the way next week, albeit with temperatures gradually ticking up a little bit. So unsettled but warm, I think, is the way we're trending for next week's weather. Having said that, temperature anomalies are only coming out close to average from the 10th to the 18th of September, so nothing particularly exciting going on there. Rainfall anomalies are close to average, still a little bit drier than average. It's probably encompassing the next day or so. I do think these will trend wetter than average for next week. So just dealing with the generic charts, we start on Monday with low pressure at 990 millibars, right over the top of the country on Monday. Going to be a very unsettled day with showers along with spells of rain, quite cool as well. That low pressure stays with us through into Tuesday. We've got quite tight back to isobars then as well, so could be pretty windy, particularly up the channel. Next area of low pressure moves through into Wednesday, potentially bringing another band of rain. That can have some quite strong winds with it as well, although this doesn't particularly show it winding itself up. Other sort of models and ensemble members are showing this becoming quite an intense feature around the middle of next week. And then low pressure sort of goes on through into Thursday. And on its way, you're probably wondering what I'm talking about with this warmer shot, but you notice that pressure is ridging a little bit to the east. So with the low pressure out to the west, it does pull the winds into sort of a southerly type direction, where it doesn't really come to much on this particular run of the GFS, but I actually say it's quite cool and just changeable. If you have a look at the ECWF, that is showing warmer conditions for the second half next week. So we keep that low, we start that low pressure over the country on Monday, so it's very unsettled through into Tuesday. And then everything starts to shift around to the south through into Wednesday. This area of low pressure down to the south of Ireland, that starts to push up some pretty warm air from the south ahead of it. So that pushes a shot of warmth out of France, but it is very unsettled. This area of low pressure is at 990 millibars, so there'll be a lot of heavy rain, even though it could be quite warm in terms of the upper atmosphere anyway. And then we go through to Saturday the 19th and Sunday the 20th, and it's still that idea, but we've got ridging to the east, low pressure to the west, bringing up this sort of southerly flow, so relatively warm, but this area of low pressure looks pretty intense. It will be throwing rain bands through the country. It's a complicated pattern, this, though. Whenever you've got sort of tropical elements within areas of low pressure, the models struggle to model that. So it is a complicated one through next week. Finally, the GEM, very unsettled and pretty cool to start next week. And then we, through the middle part of the week again, we see the winds begin to shift round to the south, pushing up warmer air from the south through into Thursday. But these areas of low pressure will still be throwing in rain bands across the country. So as we go through to day 10, which is Sunday the 20th of September, we sort of remain in this westerly flow, and we cut off any warmth from the south, and it will be quite unsettled as well. Notice even then there's another little tropical storm or something is appearing right on the very edge of the chart, just down there towards the tropical Atlantic, so we'll have to wait and see where that's going. The tropics do look as though they're beginning to perk up a little bit. We've had very quiet couple of hurricane seasons for 2013, 2014. Looks like things are just starting to perk up a little bit in terms of tropical developments for this year. That's one of the things that eventually goes into the winter forecast, of course, how many hurricanes we've had in the Atlantic. So we're keeping an eye on that. Anyway, for the next 8 to 10 days, well, enjoy the next couple of days. It is going to remain dry and fine and warm on the most part for today and tomorrow. From the weekend, it all starts to break down. Quite an unsettled spell setting up for next week, but it could potentially be pretty warm at times. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.